modern women want all of the authority with none of the consequences. Like, not everybody is entitled to your time. Actually, most people aren't.
I think that men can just survive at a Spartan level for an extended period of time because nobody generally gives a crap about us.
Finding a good man is one who will see if there's not enough for everyone, he will take from his plate to make sure everybody's taken care of. But a good wife is the one who, when she makes the plates, she will give herself a little less naturally to make sure that everybody else is taken care of before he even sees them. Guess what? You have to have something to gauge that trustworthiness on. So actually it starts with you.
So this week, we are going through laws 29 to 32 of Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power. So the central theme for today's episode is going to be about long-range planning and emotional leverage. What do you think about emotional leverage?
Sounds like the Puppet Master.
Yeah, in a lot of ways it is.
But like, again, morally neutral.
Yeah, so once again, we're going to give our disclaimer about power and the nature of power in and of itself. Power is a tool. It is used by several people of different stripes. Power in and of itself is neither good nor bad. It's just a matter of how you use it, just like money. It turns out these things are morally neutral, and it's a matter of how you apply them that causes something to be morally right and good or evil. There you go. There's our disclaimer. So, starting with law number 29, plan all the way to the end. This sounds an awful lot like count the cost or begin with the end in mind. So, power in general favors the kind of people that are willing to think steps ahead. It's not something that favors people with the brain of a child where they can only think one thing at a time or they can only see right in front of them. And we see that based on the kinds of people that take and hold power, right? They're willing to play the long game for the most part, and they don't particularly care how long something takes to achieve. They're willing to put forth the effort and the influence over an extended period of time to make it happen. I always think that it's interesting how men that are impulsive by nature are generally not fit to lead. And why I think that generally speaking, women are not well equipped to lead because typically speaking, they are more short-term minded people because of like the security gland and things of that nature. What do you think about that?
Someone who plays the long game, somebody who's thinking 3 moves ahead. You honestly, be honest with yourself. Like right now, 1, 2, 3, who are you picturing? Probably a man.
Probably so.
Because a lot of that like little chaos goblin and stuff, and it's so cute when it's a woman, but when it's a guy, it's just bad.
Creates distrust and mistrust in a lot of ways because I think that men, typically speaking, favor order and structure and things of that nature. And if you can't think beyond the immediate, the need for structure falls away, right? So in the world of somebody that doesn't think beyond today, structure is something that hinders them in their process. They're like, why are you trying to put all this cage around me when I just want to be chaotic? Whereas men that look to the long game understand that tomorrow isn't guaranteed, but it's likely to come. And it makes sense to make plans for it, even if it isn't guaranteed.
Yeah. It's interesting because I plan for things all the time. I can plan out a lot of things and it's so organized, and I'm not like you. I'm not the chaos goblin you say I am. When something is a long ways off and you're talking about long-term planning and stuff, even if, you know, the different approaches to that kind of situation, or men will be like just a few steps ahead, whereas women right now want to get it all planned out all the way to the end.
Right.
Like, I know I can't deal with that. I want it all settled and all done, or at least all of the big things. Like, we go on a trip. It's like, I need to know transportation and housing. Like, those are the things. And then everything else, because I can build everything else around that. But I want to do that as soon as I know about the big thing that's coming.
Sure.
Right then. I can't just a little bit at a time plan it. And I think that's where the disconnect is.
Because you take on that planning, it's something that I don't put my mind to so much because I get the benefit of focusing on the things I need to focus on for other things that we have going on. And I can just pack basically like a Spartan for the most part and just take the essentials for the most part. And you get to worry about things like the details. Hey, how are people getting fed along the trip? And regardless of whether or not like we bring too much is better than not enough. And so I don't fault you for that. But I remember early on in our processes, I'd be like, what in the world do we have all this stuff for? And I remember when our oldest was a baby and we'd have all this crap that like in hindsight, we didn't actually need all of it, but we felt like we needed all of it at the time.
The tinier the human, the more crap they need.
Sure.
It's nuts. It seems that Murphy's Law be Murphying, like at those junctures in time. I know a number of trips where it was just like, this is the time we're just going to have crazy blowout diapers just all along the way where we need to like 4 changes of clothes. And there was one point, definitely, there was a couple of them where we were digging into the actual luggage at the bottom to try and get extra changes of clothes.
Sure.
And honestly, it's relaxed mainly because we're at a point where, God forbid something happened, we can just go and buy it along the way.
For the most part.
Yeah. And helped me to relax so that I can just focus on, hey, do I have my glasses? Do my children have their glasses? Because those are the things we can't replace. Even medication, try and put those on the priority list. But even worse came to worse, we can get a 10-day supply from a nearby pharmacy.
Yeah, not a big deal.
Stuff like that. But if you think about how women plan, honestly, it's I want to make all the plans up front that I can set and forget until just around the time it's supposed to happen, and then I do all the last minute things. So yes, we don't think more than here. You may think you do, but really take time to dissect the way you plan. If you're a chick watching this, think about the way you actually do things in the nitty-gritty.
Well, because you self-impose things to right here, right? And then it becomes seamless to you until, bam, it becomes relevant to you again. And then all of a sudden, oh, this sucks up all my time for this period of time. Yeah. And then the mental load and all of this other stuff from it.
But honestly, it comes to that where I'm just like, I just make a list ahead of time. And I've honestly systematized that, which is Lazy Genius Way is amazing, where I could say, hey, grab me this. Hey, does this happen? And like you can fill in the gaps.
Sure. And it's not that difficult. And the thing is, by systematizing your processes, you take a lot of the mental load off yourself. And it's almost like that's how you run a business and how men design systems and processes to make everything else run easier.
Yeah. By and large, a lot of that mental load thing is a lot of that we talked about, that we'll try to hold on to things.
Yeah.
And that you won't let it go, that you're going to micromanage everything. Of course, you're going to be stressed out.
Sure. And then you're like holding on to everything when it could easily just be delegated to somebody else. And I think that sometimes people have a hard time delegating actually because they say you're going to do the thing, but then they hover over them, which is what you're talking about.
You're not doing the way I want you to do it, so I might as well do it myself. And then back to grumbling about having to do it all yourself.
Yeah. And then you'll blame the other person for it.
That sounds like a you problem.
From a masculine point of view, I think that leadership in general requires foresight. We were just talking about how systems and processes are part of building up a business. And that's indicative that planning ahead for the different things that you do regularly in a business is the thing about planning ahead. That is exactly what you're doing. You're saying, hey, if I'm going to do this repetitively, why am I going to reinvent the wheel every single time? I may as well come up with a workflow for myself and for my staff and then train a staff member to do the thing.
On our Google Drive.
Sure. But it's interesting because oftentimes men ask the following 2 questions. Where does this path that I'm on end? And who is going to be bearing the cost? And those are 2 really important things because you can apply that across domains. You can apply that in a political context, right? If we're going to vote on this policy, one, where does the policy implications go down the road? How is this going to look when it gets challenged in the Supreme Court? What are the second and third order consequences of it? And then second of all, who's really paying the bill for this? Do we have it in the budget to pay for it? If not, are we just going to be taking on debt? Are we levying a new tax? What's going on to cover the expense associated with this political action?
Yeah, I love that our ninth graders are doing teen policy debate this year. And it is exactly that. It is this thing, whether we should do it or not. And if we do it, these are the benefits. These are the problems it's going to solve. This is who's going to enact it, enforce it, and this is how it's going to be funded. Like the whole thing, it has to be fully fleshed out for them to make their case for it.
Sure. And planning is like a form of stewardship in a lot of ways because you're granted a certain amount of resources and capability to do. And the way that you plan things out is not necessarily a way of exercising control over the situation, but it's a way of placing left and right boundaries on it so that we have guardrails for what's going on with it.
And I think honestly, relationally, that's the biggest mistake that women make. Confronted with the idea of a traditional marriage.
Sure, because they don't want to submit, because they don't see submission as the idea of falling into the frame of a man that they love, admire, and respect.
Yeah, they equate it mistakenly, terribly, with loss of autonomy and loss of like self-actualization, sort of.
Sure, and I mean, if you are used to having no boundaries whatsoever, then there is a certain amount of truth to that. But if you cannot see the forest for the trees, it is very easy that you're going to fall into all kinds of other circumstances without guidance. Which is why I think masculine guidance is essential for pretty much every woman, and why it's important for fathers to lead their daughters and for husbands to lead their wives. As far as leading your daughter, it makes it so that it's easy for them to transition into the leadership of a strong man that they should love, admire, and respect in their husband when that time comes. And so it is my duty as a father to make that transition as easy as possible, not only for her sake, but for my son-in-law's sake and for my grandchildren's sake. Because if I lay the foundation well for her, then my grandchildren will be more likely to have a better time. And so once again, we're going back to thinking long-term. I'm thinking multi-generationally with the thought processes and planning and all of that, whereas I find that most women do not think generationally. They think in the moment.
This is why the end of Proverbs 31 and Commandment 5, those are the ones that have an end game description.
Okay, go into that a little bit.
Well, like Commandment 5, honor your mother and father, it comes with a promise.
It comes with a promise, yep.
That you will live in the land the Lord God gives you, and you will be fruitful and all of that stuff.
Okay, how about Proverbs 31?
And in Proverbs 31, the reward for a woman, and it's interesting, okay, rest in peace to Catherine O'Hara. She was an amazing actress, had a lifetime career of great roles. And the last interactions she had with the press, one of the last interactions, what do you want to be remembered for? She said, a mother to my children.
Ooh, yeah, that's
And
strong.
that right there was the end of Proverbs 31, where her children will rise and call her blessed.
Yep.
I love that. And that is part of you cultivate your kids. You cultivate a marriage that your kids can emulate. And then all of a sudden, they'll turn around, have kids that are just like they were and go, oh, really? He wrote on the walls with a crayon? Really?
Tell me about that.
Was it red? And then they'll go, but I knew how to deal with it because you taught me. Thank
Sure.
you, Mom.
Yeah, by laying a solid foundation for our children, we go ahead and allow for successive generations to be better off than we were.
Yeah.
And I think a reasonable goal for every generation is to establish the next generation to be better than they had it. And I think that most parents want that for their children.
Yeah, like
Deep
my
down
mom
inside.
didn't even have a mom to learn to be a new mom from.
Right.
She just went with these adopted figures who supported her, but they weren't really in the trenches with her. And she shared that with me as I was pregnant for the first time. And when it came for me to deliver our first child, she stayed with us for a month, more than a month. But she was there like just quietly, like folding laundry, making meals. Like I remember the biggest thing I remember was like a nurse, I get the baby up, change the baby, nurse the baby, put her back down. And when I went to sit at the pump, there was a sandwich waiting for me.
Oh, that's so kind of her.
Any new mom knows you have to choose between eating and sleeping, showering and sleeping, being a human, remembering you're a human being and sleeping. I didn't have to make that choice because she provided that option for me.
Sure. And it leads to a good example where it's very likely going to be the case with our daughters.
I cannot wait to be that for her. To do that, oh, the baby's stopping crying. I don't know what's wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. Give me the baby. Go to sleep.
Go take a nap.
Good night.
Yeah.
Because that did happen. I was at the end of me. I got 6 hours of sleep, which was like 1,000 years. I felt like Rip Van Winkle.
So going back on the Proverbs 31 thing, and we brought up submission. And something that I find that feminists often bring up in reference to Proverbs 31 is, oh, she's so capable. Look, she's running the household. Oh, she's going and buying real estate. She's a boss babe. Yes, but in what context?
For what purpose?
For the betterment of the household.
Yeah.
Under whose authority?
In what capacity?
Exactly.
As a wife.
As a wife, while her husband was leading at the city gates.
Because guess what? In the very beginning, her husband trusts her.
Right.
Because bring her gain all the time. So you gotta, you first.
Yeah, it's
Ladies first.
She is capable, but she is operating within the bounds of her authority, right? And her authority is delegated authority from her husband. So come on, let's not get it twisted. Yes, she's capable, but what's the context in which she is capable? And that's so important. And they just miss the plot because they want to read stuff into the text that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Especially they set it up in the beginning, the trust and that she brings him gain and all of that stuff. And that it sets it up and that his role in the community.
Right.
So they're very visible people. So she understands the role that she's playing alongside him and that it clearly states out how he's providing that framework.
Oh, yeah. And clearly they're members of the aristocracy at the time because they have household staff and all of that. So there's a lot of context there that is often missed. And I think it's missed intentionally just to paint a picture that is supportive of the modern feminist agenda in the church.
And it's funny how people cafeteria cherry pick it.
Sure.
Because then it's if you're doing real estate and you're being a boss babe, then you have to get up before your family and stay up late at night. When are you going to sleep, ma'am? When are you going to actually sleep? The whole point is that she's making sure to make the most of her time.
Right.
Not that she's not sleeping.
She's not just scrolling on TikTok all day? Is that what the deal is?
Pretty much. I mean, like she doesn't eat the Bible.
Yeah, I mean,
But,
that's
you know.
important, though.
So it's like you want to read into it. You want to take everything to the furthest logical conclusion if you're going to go there.
Whoa, that takes actually taking the time and analyzing the whole thing in its proper context, doing proper exegesis. That's just too much work for them.
Do you want to not sleep? Do you want to never do something that's, that me time, that self-care? Like, you want all of that too? Like, you have to take both or nothing.
No, but they're going to complain about the mental load and all this other stuff that they take on themselves of their own volition because they got to be a boss babe and they got to be the best mom ever and they got to go ahead and do all the things on social media because if not, what are they even doing?
I don't have enough energy to be a modern woman. I'm sorry. I'm just lazy. That's why I'm a traditional wife.
Well, it's just you have different priorities.
I do. And I have a different goal in mind.
Right.
Than most women.
So,
but honestly, I love that Catherine, that was her last gift to the world.
Yeah. So to finish up this law, what do you think is the general experience that women feel when they see a guy that is reactive in nature versus a guy that can actually plan things out?
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this last week. It gives off feminine energy. That chaos goblin, that you're not dependable. We can't count on you. Like, ish hits the fan and we're both freaking out. Like, what good? You're not going to make it.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
We both got brown pants on.
Sure. And then when a guy knows how to plan things out, how does that show differently in terms of the way that you experience it?
It's steady. It's comforting. No matter what, we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't have to freak out. Like, honestly, it really does buffer that freak out. It's not going to be zero. I'm still a human being.
Right.
I'm still wired the way I'm wired, but it's become way more like, we're going to be okay. It's a little scary, but it puts me honestly into posture of submission. Like, what can I do? What do you need? Like, literally just palms open. What can I do?
Sure.
Give me my marching orders that helps you help us through this.
Yep.
So it also, a lot of that, what is it called? The thing where you're always thinking about yourself with women.
Narcissism?
Specifically with women. We were talking about that with the war bride thing and stuff.
Oh, solipsism.
Yeah, that one. That's the one. That you're trying to, like, stuff's happening.
Right.
And you're trying to figure out how you're going to be okay. If you have somebody to be like, this is what we're going to do, and you're like, how do I help you? It brings you out of that. And you're very much, it's going to be a much shorter time where you're just freaking out. Because then you're starting to figure out, okay, what can we do then?
Yeah, because if you're not struggling for survival, right, which is the natural order of things for women, right, because you have the security gland that just goes and throbs. If you don't have like safety and security, then if you don't have to worry about that, you're free to widen your vision to things outside of that. And it's just one of those things that I think it is much more uniquely a characteristic of women than it is of men. I think that men can just survive at a Spartan level for an extended period of time because nobody generally gives a crap about us.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like our comfort is not really anybody's concern. People care about the women and the children, and the guys, they could just die in a ditch for the most part.
Look at the reaction to a lot of people's videos about like men's mental health and like what is it called? The male loneliness epidemic.
Right.
Nobody gives, they just laugh at it.
Sure.
They'll mock it. They'll be like, please stop. No.
No, it is a genuine problem. And there's a lot of people that are just missing out on having a brotherhood of people to stand side to side with, to go against the challenges of life with.
Once they stop laughing, cackling maniacally like idiots, if you sit there and really think about it, how many women can raise your hand, put a finger down if you've ever been in a room and a whole group of friends maybe and still feel like you're the only person in the room and you're completely alone?
I think some of that comes from solipsism too, though.
Everyone has felt like that.
Sure.
But think about, imagine if you will now, that you were actually in an empty room and there's nobody coming.
Yeah, and it's just you.
You don't know what's going to happen next. You know, you're just by yourself all the time. You're actually by yourself.
And that's a really scary thing for a lot of people. So let's move on to the next law, which says, make your accomplishments seem effortless. So the idea here is it's like a duck where on the top of the water, the duck is going nice and smooth. And then underneath, the wet feet are flailing. Oh my gosh, we're just trying to get somewhere.
And there's like currents. And you're like,
oh my gosh, they're trying to do all the things. Yeah. So the basic idea is you want to make sure that your accomplishments seem effortless, because if it is obvious that you are exerting yourself a lot, it leads people to worry about you and feel insecure about the situation at hand. If you are putting on too much effort, it seems unsustainable. Whereas if you are calm and competent and you're just holding yourself together, not another thought crosses people's mind. They're just like, oh yeah, that's just what it is. No matter how difficult it is on the inside.
Where if you show the struggle, if he can't handle this, what if we get something worse happening?
Oh yeah, then your security gland will passively throb as a result of it. And so
I can only trust him up to this point. Capital T, like whole concept, the very form of trust. Yeah.
Or if she does things to the point where he can get pushed off his center, then she doesn't trust him because, oh, hey, if I could push you off your center, then everything in the world can push you off its center because I'm just a girl. All right.
I instantly thought about that. I was like, or if he shows that kind of weakness or flaw, she's going to use it as a weapon.
And she'll hold it against him passively in a lot of other contexts.
Like instantaneously, even sometimes without knowing she's doing it.
Sure. And you could see this reflected in how people talk about dating as well. If somebody tries too hard,
Yeah.
it comes off as icky to women.
The lightsaber chopsticks.
Okay, talk about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this guy went on a date with this chick and he brought like light up lightsaber chopsticks. They went to an Asian restaurant.
Okay.
And like he brought them out and he goes, choose your weapon. And really he was trying to be like funny, like light side or dark side. And she got on a TikTok or whatever and made fun of him for it.
Yeah, he was a little extra in that. Had they been a couple for a while, or was it like a first date kind of thing?
I don't know if it was a first date or anything, but I don't care. Why do you make fun of him for that? Just trying to make it fun.
Because it's the ick. She feels the ick, and because she feels the ick, she's going to make fun of him on TikTok because because he's an inferior man. And if he's an inferior man, then he's worthy of ridicule, according to her, right? Regardless of what the truth of the matter is, it's a matter of perception for her. If she perceives him to be weak and unserious and too much of a tryhard, that's enough for her to be like, oh, I can't trust him. I don't feel safe with him. I don't like the cut of his jib. Therefore, Sahara Desert, done.
Oh yeah, that's why they could easily swipe right on 100 guys. Just nope. And for whatever weird reason, it doesn't matter. Just all of a sudden, just set off and just nope.
That's why at 30, they end up stare after hopping off the carousel. And it's just, come on, ladies. Like, this is something that you do to yourself and you don't realize the long-term harm that you're doing. It's insane.
Lightsaber chopsticks was so cool. I was like, that's such a cool idea.
Yeah. And it's interesting because another way of looking at this is rather than just explaining yourself for everything, a key concept might be something like letting your results speak for themselves. And this works in a relationship context, and this works at work too, is if you are an exceptional performer, oftentimes the nature of your results goes to show the quality of your work without you having to put it on display and flail it about like a peacock.
Yeah.
Right? Because that you flailing it about sends a message to everybody else on the staff at the same time. It shows that you're trying to get too much attention, or you're trying to make it seem like you're doing more work than you are, or any number of like social ills that come from it, because people make fun of people like that. Or they go, oh, you're such a tryhard. Look at you, teacher's pet, or whatever. Like any number of things come from that kind of display. Mm-hmm. Now, is that something that you kind of see in girl world at all?
Honestly, when somebody is that kind of try-hard person, if you come out of the gate like way too strong, there's a lot of weaker people that will kowtow to that and follow along.
Right.
There are the kind of people that will latch onto that and be like, okay, this is someone to follow. But then once you got all the followers, I've seen it, whereas once you got all the people around you, what are you going to do then? Like in Mean Girls, Katie becomes like the new
Regina.
Queen Bee. Yeah. This look like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? What do I do now? See, the heavy is the head. But a lot of times, especially in a larger group of women, when you just come out of the gate like with something to prove, it is icky.
Yeah, because the female social hierarchy
You want to
is
be acceptable.
nice and even across the board.
Yeah.
And when you pop your head up, all the other women will act like crabs in a boiling pot and pull you
back
down,
Yeah.
and put you in your place or cast you off the island.
If you want to rise, you got to rise slowly.
Sure. Or be so naturally shiny that like you dumb yourself down for them.
That's why Mean Girls was like a masterfully crafted movie. Someday I'm going to read the book that it was based on.
That's funny. So if you want to apply it differently, I think one thing that guys can really take note of is in order to get this kind of effortlessness, it's often the fruit of discipline over time. So one way that I would relate it to men is if you guys play video games and you play role-playing games, right? When you're level 1, a goblin may be a suitable match for you. But when you are level 20, goblins are just effortless fodder for you. And you need bigger challenges to actually have to exert effort. And can also apply in the gym. Once you have built your muscles up at a certain point, you will not be able to gain benefit from anything beyond progressive overload. Like if you naturally bench like 315 and that's benching for reps, or even 225, and then you just go and you put the bar up and that's it. There's a measurable difference between the two, and you're just not going to derive benefit other than maybe some range of motion benefit that maybe you just can't train when you're putting your muscles under like horrendous load by comparison. And so the effortlessness comes from being incredibly competent. So if you were excellent at what you do, it's easy to make it seem like you're not putting in that much effort. And I think this is one of the key advantages that men can really develop is the ability to be so good at what you do that you can do the things you need to do and spend other time doing other things at the same time, so that you can have, not only are you accomplishing the goals that you're setting before you, but your level of performance is so much higher than your peers a lot of times because you've put in the reps.
It goes back to the last one.
Yeah,
Especially in the male version of it where you just think a few steps ahead.
Sure. And the thing is, it's like living out your hero's journey, right? Is when you're beginning with the end in mind and you have some thought about what you'd like to do, bits and pieces to that journey that you need to go ahead and have locked into place. But once you get a couple of steps down the road, you have a branching path. And so there's only so many branches that you can predetermine ahead of time. And to get the most benefit out of your labor and your effort, it is better taken incrementally. And as men, I think generally we're better at planning that out a couple of increments at a time so that we can not just get to the next destination and go, now what? We get to the destination and we've been taking on the challenges that would be appropriate for 2 levels up, so that when we get 1 level up, it's not going to be completely foreign what we should do. You see this in the military a lot. Like, for example, when I was a staff sergeant for a period of time, our flight chief had taken leave. And during the time he was on leave, we had tech sergeants 1 level up from me that were in the office. But instead of them taking on the position, his position in their absence, they asked me to take on the position in their absence. No disrespect to what was going on with the other people, but it was just one of those things where it was an intentional development opportunity where they're like, hey, you can take on these responsibilities and we trust that you can use this as a growing opportunity.
Right. Call the other people for support if you need it.
Right.
But we want to try you out.
Sure. And I think it's important that we issue these kinds of challenges in a manageable way to like our sons and people that are subordinate to us, is to have their intentional development in mind. Like, for example, our recent round of hires, the last 2 rounds of hires, I had our general manager and then our social media manager doing the hiring interviews and all of that, the whole hiring process. Mm-hmm. For the most part, they took it, and then I would provide advice and counsel after the fact. And I'd bring up a little something extra that maybe they didn't see, but they did an excellent job. And the purpose behind it was to provide a relational challenge to the social media manager so that he can grow and develop into a better leader. And so that was just a matter of, I want to develop my people because I have genuine care for them. Mm-hmm. And I know that if he develops in this realm, there's going to be tangential benefits to him in other realms of endeavor. Like
Instead of, I need to be involved in this process always because I need to make sure they're doing the right thing.
Sure.
And like, you don't want to give up the control.
Yeah, and that wasn't the issue. Though, I tell you what, I saw something uniquely different than the 2 of them in one area, and I made a different decision, but it was outside of the bounds that they thought was possible. So they were thinking they were hiring one person, and they were like worrying about, oh, these 2 people were both excellent, and we don't know which one to pick. And I'm like, pick both. And they're like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean pick both? And I'm like, if we have exceptional talent that's here in front of us, it would be ridiculous for me to not try to pick up both. And then on top of that, there was a talent in a different area of need in the company that they weren't like thinking about when they were doing the interviewing process. And it was an exceptional talent for another role in the company, but they were applying for a different role. And I'm like, we need to get this guy. And they're like, I didn't think about that. And I'm like, yeah, because there's this and this need that we have coming up. And if we get ahead of it, it's going to smooth our transition in this. And they were just like, I hadn't thought of that. And I'm like, that was outside of the bounds of what I was expecting of you, right? You did the things that I expected you to do. This is just the next level up that I encourage you to think about. What are the other needs in the company? And at your level, how can you go ahead, foresee the needs that we have, and make an adequate plan for that? And how can you affect change with your level of influence at the time?
I think with them being very inextricably involved in the process, in the way that it's like it was all them, right? It was just them sitting there looking at these people, and you just providing like distanced feedback and getting them to see it in a different way. I don't think they're likely to make that same kind of oversight again.
Yeah, I think the point was to give them reasonable feedback so that I can expand their field of vision for similar opportunities in the future. So going back to the idea of effortlessness and how it comes from discipline and how we train people up, I think that in the realm of dating, attraction is a very powerful force when guys can act competently, naturally, and they just make it look easy. Because when guys try hard, it gets icky for women, right? And a lot of times, guys confuse communication with over communication.
Yeah.
Because you can go ahead and give them the lay of the land and say, hey, we're going to do this and this, and we're going to have a great time. And that's all you tell them. Or you can be like, at 5:15, we're going to do this, and then we're going to go ahead and do this. And your eyes are already rolling in the back of your head because it's too much and it's irrelevant for the most part because the guy is supposed to be taking you on a journey. And you're supposed to be able to shut your brain off and follow along.
Right.
Until the time comes where you're going to need to exercise some kind of agency. But for the most part, it makes a lot of sense to just give them the headline and just gently guide them through the process, whatever process it is.
Whatever process that may be.
Yeah. So when a guy is dismissive or when he is reassuring, how does this concept of being effortless show up differently in both of those things? Because both of them are linked to effortlessness or the perception of effortlessness, right?
These are the extremes of it, right?
That's the idea.
Yeah. So honestly, if you're trying to like just be like, I just need you to follow. That's it. Like a parent that says, because I said so. And that's it. You're just blindly following. But if, they're talking about, at 5:15, I made reservations for this. And then, so it almost puts you in the co-pilot seat rather than the driving Miss Daisy kind of
in the passenger seat,
passenger princess seat kind of thing. It makes you like the shotgun navigator where it's an active role and you are co-participating in this thing because you're already in the back of your mind. You're like, he made reservations, so if we go too long with this, we're going to miss this. And you can't shut your brain off.
No, because you're going to be worrying about it in the back of your mind.
No.
If you're a competent man and you are leading the process, you're just like, hey, wear this cute dress. Be ready at this time. And then, boom, you just do those two things. And he's like, okay, let's go. And then you just follow along. You don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
He's got all the details.
And this just comes with somebody that you are trust and respect that they have you in mind. Because otherwise it's not going to work.
Sure.
But the thing is, they can't get to that point where they are trustworthy because they are trusted only as much as they are trustworthy.
Okay.
But you have to be open to that possibility. And that's the thing is, I really think that even, especially in the dating process, purpose of dating has gotten lost in translation in recent generations.
Sure.
Where they're not testing that person to see if they are trustworthy.
And not intentionally anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what those things are. Hey, if you could wear something like this, that would be good. That's cute. I'm going to pick you up and we're going to go out. That's it. Just go with it.
Right. It's a compliance test.
Once you've vetted the fact that they are not a serial killer, we're good, right?
And think about it, right? Because if you're going to go ahead and treat dating as like the precursor to marriage, which is it, in a lot of ways it should be.
That's what it should be.
Right? In marriage, from a Christian worldview, women are to submit to their husband as to the Lord, right? And how do you do that if you don't trust him? And, right? The command doesn't change, right? Just because you don't trust him. But from a practical perspective, they're just not going to do that because you're not making it easy for them to submit, right? And there's the line. I think a lot of people go ahead and misunderstand that is even if he isn't perfect, which guess what? No man is perfect. That's just what it is. It doesn't absolve her of her responsibility to obey, right? And people will just come after me in the comments. I don't care. It's just what the book says. It's very clear.
That's the thing is like, that is where it becomes the responsibilities come with the consequences.
Yes. And it's both sides of it, right? Because that obedience comes with a responsibility on the part of the husband to love her and cherish her and to go ahead and be willing to give himself up for her like Christ did for the church.
Yeah. That's the thing is the consequences of disobedience are on me.
Correct.
That's it. The consequences of where you have led me in being in my obedience is on you.
Correct.
And that's way bigger. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is like modern women want all of the authority with none of the consequences.
They want the liberty without the responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah. They
like,
want to be free to do whatever.
Thing, like they don't want that part.
Sure. They want to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And without having to pay for it.
But then
basically.
They're going to be like reverse Adam. It's like the man you gave me.
Sure. They blame Adam for it.
No. That's the thing I said before was like women only trust as much as men are trustworthy.
Sure.
Guess what? You have to have something to gauge that trustworthiness on. So actually it starts with you.
Sure.
Starts with you.
But I think that guys can do a lot of good in having a plan for that up front and not just being without a plan in the dating world, right? If you're going ahead and dating with intentionality, you should have some thought process for what you're looking for. Or maybe you're in the exploratory phase at the beginning and you're just looking for things that you absolutely can't stand and figuring out what are the essential non-negotiables that you're just not going to give on. Like there's some room for that. But in either case, that still has to do with intentionality.
Yeah. That's going to be based on what we talked about before with the vision and the moral tenets, the fabric of your being and your purpose. Then you're going to know who you're looking for. You're going to have metrics based on that.
Hopefully you're thinking about this ahead of time.
Then again, as it should be. We're talking about how it should be. It's like it's gotten lost in that. But really interesting how women don't want to take responsibility for that. They go, he did this and he did that and he was just bad and he did.
But what did you do, ma'am?
You picked him.
Right. And you saw all this stuff before you got married, right? And if not, like if there was some crazy switcheroo, that happens on both sides a lot of times.
It happens on both sides. But the thing is, a lot of people don't even ask the right questions and they don't take the time.
Right. And they don't evaluate true tests of character. And I think an essential piece that has gone missing.
It's like you jump into bed, you move in together, you have babies, all of this stuff. Before you really go, oh my gosh, he was a terrible person.
He was a terrible person, but she liked that he was terrible in the first place. She wanted that bad boy.
Don't listen to what they say, listen to who they do.
Yeah, listen to or watch what and who they do, and you'll go ahead and see what they actually care about. So let's go ahead and wrap up that law. And the next law is control the options, otherwise known as get others to play with the cards that you deal them. So we see this in politics all the time, and it is called the Hegelian dialectic. This is where you have two opposing parties, and they make it seem like they hate each other, and this party goes ahead and provides this solution to this problem, and this party provides a different solution to the problem, and they are both terrible. But secretly, behind closed doors, they really wanted this thing in the middle in the first place that's going to be bad for all the people, but great for them, and they make a show of it. They're angry and hateful towards each other, and then they end up compromising on the thing they planned to compromise on in the first place.
Most American citizens can't identify with that at all.
No?
No.
No, not at all. But it's just one of those things where if you are able to control the options that you provide somebody else, the options in and of themselves provide the left and right boundaries. And so you can exert influence by providing that optionality to them. And it's just interesting how a lot of times we don't think about it that way, right? A lot of things in our life, living in the United States, are like that, where you have the illusion of freedom in so many ways that it really doesn't exist, really. For example, you have two effective choices in terms of major political parties, and your personal vote in national elections, unless you're in a swing state, usually has no real effect on the outcome of the election. So you have the illusion of choice in 42 out of 50 states-ish, plus or minus a little bit of wiggle room every now and then. But really, only 8 states in the union really matter in terms of national voting, which is crazy, but it is what it is, right? So we have the illusion of choice. We go ahead and fight tooth and nail against the people from the other team, and we go ahead and hate on them. And really, in terms of national politics, we don't have a whole lot of influence on it.
But that's because not too many people vote. My people need to vote.
Yeah, whatever. You're going to see the same general trends when you go ahead and get everybody to vote. Shoot, I'm of the opinion that fewer people should be voting, and we should go ahead and have qualified suffrage.
I've seen so many things lately, so much scuttlebutt about repealing the 19th. I'm like,
Well, you got so many people saying stupid things, and then you realize, oh, these people go ahead and cancel out my vote. Why in the world is this what it is?
why is this a thing?
Why is this a thing? And so when you have whole demographics that have no clue what's going on, canceling out informed voters' votes, yeah, it makes sense why people would want to repeal the 19th. I'm in favor of repealing the 19th, but I would go ahead and replace it with qualified immunity. It wouldn't be on the basis of sex or race or anything like that. It'd be on the basis of, are you a net contributor to the system? And if you are, you should have some say on how the system goes, right? Whereas if you're a net cost on the system, then why should you be given the opportunity to vote booty for yourself from the Treasury?
Yeah.
Why are we going to go ahead and let that happen? Because some people at the top benefit from allowing these people to vote them in for that purpose.
Yeah, I talked to my 9th graders about economics and stuff, and we talked about the close partnership and the close connection between the legal system, legislature, and the economy. And we talked about the school bond that was passed
Okay.
and how everybody was like, yes, we need it for the children. But it's interesting that once it gets passed and once these taxes are enacted, they're like, you're going to hear people say, why is everything so expensive? Why did my rent go up? Why is this happening? And then it's been so much time since the vote and the effect that they don't equate the two.
Because it's seamless to them until they feel the effects of it. So during the campaign, they go ahead and get all these promises in there to get people to vote for the thing. And then they're like, oh, don't worry about the consequences. And then the consequences hit. And then all of a sudden, people that didn't think they would be affected by it, so like renters, for example, we don't pay property taxes because we don't own property. Yeah, but you rent property that is owned by property owners and their taxes went up. Do you think that they're going to be happy to just absorb it? No, they're going to go ahead and pass it along, which is a perfectly reasonable and rational thing to do, passing on costs when possible, when the market can bear it.
Because most renters, even of bigger buildings, if they are billionaires,
Nope.
or millionaires even, hardly. A lot of them are just like they have an extra single family home or something that they've got for rental income to supplement their rocking chair money, their pension checks and stuff. It's not people who are trying to sit there and greedy like stacks on stacks. No, I'm going to raise your rent because I need to make $1 million. No, they're just trying to like gain extra passive income.
And even if it is the people that have a bunch, passing on an artificial increase in the cost of operating the building, of course it's going to get passed along. Why would somebody think somebody would be happy with the government taking more of their money? It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
Now, another way of framing this that works in like the relationship and marriage standpoint is when a husband provides a framework for his wife and provides left and right boundaries for her, though from an outside perspective, you might see that as a limitation of freedom, but in a lot of ways, you have this huge amount of freedom within the prescribed field of play. So it's one of those things where we were reading the Screw Tape letters for Wednesday night, and one of the things that happened in chapter 13 of the Screw Tape letters, Screw Tape was talking to his nephew and saying that anytime man's will is subverted and taken from him for any reason other than his own voluntary submission to the will of God, it is an affront to God's authority, and he hates it from a divine perspective. And it is when man gives up his own will to submit to the will of the Father that not only does he go ahead and become free, he is given the fullness of his own personality back so that he can use that in service of the kingdom. And that is such a powerful thing because it is something that applies to both wives in the context of marriage, and it applies to the individual Christian in terms of his relationship with the Lord and his relationship to his mission on the earth. Because when you are free from all this doubt and all this other nonsense that can go ahead and be hampering you, and you just give yourself up to the will of God, and he restores you to be like a redeemed version of yourself, then you are just free to let your gifts sing the glory of creation to everybody around it. And that is such a powerful force for good in the world. And so in this way, like those boundaries that are provided to us give us freedom, and we don't recognize it because we live in a society that's so like hell-bent on having every little liberty without having the corresponding responsibility. It's a fundamental disrespect for created order.
It's so myopic to say, oh, there's a bunch of rules here. I don't want that.
Right.
But it's interesting, too, that the same people will actually, if they define civilized society, a lot of the means to conduct yourself is the same morals. It's just, wait a minute. So what are we beefing over?
That's really funny because that reminds me of a conversation between Ben Shapiro and Bill Maher. And he's like, you know that even though I'm Jewish and you are atheist, we agree on 90% of moral issues. And he's like, no way. He's like, what do you think about theft? What do you think about murder? What do you think about regulations on how we conduct ourselves in public? Should we be able to just run,
hit him and just
run naked in the street? That makes sense. Yeah, it turns out that having good order and discipline in a society is an important thing, and it, regardless of the religious context from which you derive them, you're oftentimes going to come to the same moral standards. It's really weird that way.
It's like, against ICE? Wait, you mean like a border?
You're establishing a border and you're holding it at your own territory, and you
So
don't
it's
see
like, it's the same thing where
irony?
it's like all these rules and all these laws and stuff. I don't want this fairy book to tell me what to do. And then it's, wait, kill other people. Wait, you can't steal other people's stuff.
Huh.
Should there be consequences for that? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Should there be a set of rules by which people live? Funny. Interesting.
And it's interesting because a lot of times people will go ahead and rally against the idea of one's religious values informing how you write legislation. And they say, oh, but freedom of religion. No, that's not exactly what free exercise of religion means. It doesn't mean freedom from religion. It just means that there's no establishment of a national religion. In fact, at the founding of the nation, I think all 13 colonies had a state denomination, right? And they had a state church. It was just that there couldn't be a federal church, which is really interesting because most of the state constitutions also required you to be a Christian to go ahead and actually be able to vote or hold office.
Yeah.
And so obviously that wasn't the case. It wasn't a matter of freedom from religion. And even so, in a lot of ways, everybody's political theory in and of itself becomes a form of religion in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Because you have your own doctrines and tenets, you have your own traditions and your order of practice,
You even have your own liturgy.
and you have your own version of a liturgy. Yeah. And so it becomes a religion in and of itself. And then all of a sudden, oh, it turns out that statism in a lot of ways is a religion. Huh. Funny how that works.
Yeah. It's funny because all of that kind of stuff, it's been reading Charlie Kirk's last book.
Okay.
And it's in there. He talks about politics, political, like
Ideology can
ideology becomes a religion, or even environmentalism and like PETA and stuff like that.
they are their own religions
They
in a
have
lot
their
of ways.
own religions. It's like interesting, like if you frame it that way.
Right.
So no matter what, you're going to submit to someone or something.
Right. And your moral framework is informed by a religion in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's man-made or whether it's divinely inspired, it's still a religion, right? So now going back to the idea of boundaries and structure, like something that guys can do to reinforce the idea of boundaries, and I think that far too few men actually hold boundaries in their lives in a lot of ways. If they go ahead and set boundaries around their time, that's really important. Their standards, like what they go ahead and accept in their presence and what they don't, and their availability. I think these are things that guys could, generally speaking, use improvement on across the board. And a good example of this is a story that we've told before where got two female employees that would go ahead and get phone calls from the phone establishment, and they would go ahead, receive the call, and they'd ask to speak to me. And they would just go ahead and hand me the phone. And I'm like in my office working on something, and they'd just go ahead and interrupt to go ahead, hand me the phone. And I'd be like, hey, who is this? And they'd tell me who it is. And then I'd be like, click. I don't need to talk to this person. So I'd go ahead and explain to the associate, hey, this is what I need you to do. When I receive a call and it's for me, I need you to go ahead and tell me who it is, who they represent, get a callback number, and what the purpose of their call is.
What is this regarding?
What is this regarding? And if I see fit to call them back, I'll call them back. And you can just hand me the Post-it note, and that'll be it. Very few phone calls will require my immediate attention or the immediate attention of any manager, because a lot of times it's a solicitation. They're just trying to sell us something.
Yeah.
And for the most part, if we're looking to buy something, we have already found the solution to our problem. We're aware of the problem and we're finding ways to solve the problem, right? We don't need someone to go ahead and be like, I'm going to assume that this is a problem for you and that my solution is going to work out for you. You don't know my business that well, so let me go ahead and tell you this. After a while, I got upset like trying to do that every time because I just don't have time in the day to go ahead and explain to salespeople why I don't need their solution for my business.
Yeah. Why do I have to pitch no to you?
Yeah. And so
That doesn't make any sense.
the idea is to set the boundary. Look, if I want to reach out to you, I will. If it's something of urgency, I'll reach out to you. And so I went ahead and taught those two female employees how to properly answer a phone, how to go ahead and properly provide a message, how to be kind and cordial on the phone while you're doing that whole thing. And as a result, they were happier to not have to deal with phone calls and not have a framework around how to do that, right? Because they have decision paralysis and like anxiety. Oh, they want to go ahead and talk to Mike, but Mike's doing this. No, they have a standard process to handle the thing. And so not only are they alleviated of the stress associated with that situation, my time is guarded so that I can go ahead and spend my time doing the things that I need to be doing, not at the beck and call of some random solicitor on a phone, because honestly, I don't need to talk to the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
So
Take the example that just the concept that is almost like a total paradigm shift, that not everybody is entitled to access to you.
yeah,
Well, it's just life advice right there. Like, not everybody is entitled to your time. Actually, most people aren't.
yeah. And I would be really suspicious of people that believe that they are entitled to your time.
Yeah, that says a lot about them.
Right. it shows entitlement and it shows a lack of respect in a lot of ways.
Create the room.
Right? And there is a certain number of people that can go ahead and demand my time.
Yeah.
And it makes sense in those specific and enumerated contexts.
Especially if they want something from you.
Right.
If you have more to offer than they do, definitely you don't come with a sense of entitlement. Everybody can identify with that. Like, gross.
Right. But at the same time, I think a lot of people in our country don't know how to read that room. And they don't recognize that there's hierarchy that exists around us. Like, I think that for the most part, it's women, generally speaking, that don't see hierarchy the same way because of the difference in the flat hierarchy among women and the pyramid-shaped hierarchy among men. It is a foreign concept to them that they should operate differently. They just think, oh, it's just a normal person. Yes, we are both humans, but we have different levels of responsibility and priorities. And I'm sorry, but you don't qualify as a priority to me. Like, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Video I watched from this creator that I've seen like before, but like I saw a lot of them recently. He's the one who like tells funny stories and makes t-shirts off of it.
Okay.
But he told this one about this DM he got where this lady was like, my son and I, we don't have any food right now. Could you possibly like help us get food for the next week until I can get paid? And he's like, absolutely. Just tell me a list. I can have Walmart deliver to you. And she like listed all these things and like sushi and steak and ice cream and Dr. Pepper. And oh, I would love a bottle of wine. I haven't had wine in forever.
She's seeking charity.
Ma'am, I am not going to get you any of that. I can get you a few essentials for a week. And she was like, I just asked if you could. I didn't demand it. Okay, now already.
You're coming incorrect already.
Already, yeah. And it became like a whole thing. Yeah, it was a whole thing. I was like,
Where did she get the idea that was okay?
yeah.
Right? There's got to be something in the way that she was brought up that allowed her that delusion to think that was appropriate.
I'd be interested to know if like her mom was, or her family of origin had financial troubles that required like government assistance or something else.
Sure, where it was just seamless to them. Somebody else was paying the cost of their admission. And so to them, they didn't have to put in the time and the effort associated with getting the things.
And it's a choice, like, honestly, to sit there and see your parents struggle and the mindset be like, I'm going to make sure my kids and my family never has to struggle. I'm going to do everything I can. If I have a family and stuff, I'm going to make sure they're provided for. It worked for them. It's going to work for me. Like, those are two divergent mindsets, right?
Yeah, but often it's informed by their family of origin, right? And so
That's the thing.
if you were raised with an idea that we go ahead and tell our children, we are doing this for this reason so that you can have a better life than we did. If we say that often enough, it sticks with them and they will go ahead and take that and pass it along. It's just like anything else in life.
This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing this for you to have better. Then it sets them up in the mindset that, like, this is what I was given. I need to do better for my family, rather than hooked on phonics work for me.
Yeah. And it's interesting. But if we go ahead and take this concept of having them play the cards that they are dealt in a marriage context, there are really good ways of using this. And then some ways that not using this leads to disaster. And we're going to go ahead and talk about what's for dinner. If I go ahead and ask you, hey, what do you want for dinner? And you go, I don't know, you pick, right? Indecision leads to all kinds of instability and forces somebody to take some kind of leadership role. And we see on social media, oftentimes this goes, oh, hey, what do you want for dinner? And then you go, I don't know, what do you want for dinner? Or, oh, just pick whatever. And then the guy picks, and then she's like, no, I don't want it. No, I don't want it. Whereas what we do is I'll go ahead and give you 2 or 3 options, and I'll be like, of these 2 or 3 options, do you have a preference? My preference is this. So I go ahead and give you the options, and I state a preference. And 9 times out of 10, you're just like, oh yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. Right? Because I make the decision, the default decision, easy for you to say yes to. And I go ahead and give you the left and right boundaries so that, of those 2 or 3 restaurants, you're going to like at least one of them. I'm not an ogre. I'm not going to go ahead and just pick things that you don't like, right? Because I love and I cherish you. So I want the best for you. So I make decisions ahead of time to make your life easier.
You forgot a part.
What's that?
You usually actually throw it out there.
Throw
Do
what?
you have a preference for dinner? Like, if anything immediately comes off the top of my head to be like, I want this.
Sure.
My burrito.
And sometimes that's the case. But other times I just go ahead and do the other way.
But most of the time that happens beforehand. Before we, honed in this system, it was like, no, give me a direction to go in to say what.
And then it still put the onus of decision making on you, and that was just not good.
Yeah, it was still really fuzzy and stuff. So then this came about, and it's just chef's kiss. Much better. Pun intended.
So if I go ahead and deal you the cards, and you're like, oh yeah, I like this one. Finding the where we eat dinner challenge has been subverted in all kinds of ways. We have risen above it.
Yep.
Take that for what you will, gentlemen. Sometimes it is better just to go ahead and make a set of decisions and provide a framework and say, hey, here you go, dealer's choice. But you've limited the options from 200 restaurants to 3.
Yeah.
Saves both of you a lot of headache and heartache. Now, how do you see boundaries from different perspectives as being either loving or being controlling?
First of all, when we talked about like the political sphere, it's interesting that I've talked to my high schoolers about the nuanced difference between freedom and liberty.
Okay.
That freedom is truly, okay, there's the whole wide world, but go in accordance with your priorities and with your morals and ethics that you have adopted, but don't go against your own nature. That's never the thing, right? Liberty is the freedom as far as the political system, in the land which you reside.
Right.
Like that is like at the government's pleasure.
Right.
Honestly.
It's a layer on top of your freedom.
Yes.
Yeah.
We looked at a bunch of different Bible translations, and all of them pretty much, with a few that are trying to nuance it as like the thought for thought paraphrasing more, they use freedom in the Bible. Way like maybe like you can count on one hand how many times they use like liberty. And it's more like taking liberties, and it's with interactions.
Or liberty is
as much as someone else will allow. Also,
it is often used in the context of comparison of freedom versus living under the law.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Because the law was overscribed above their freedom.
There's this governmental prescription there.
Sure.
And it was interesting to open their eyes to that. So what does Christ want you to live in? Does he want to live in a certain place that tells you can't do this and you can't do that and you can't worship God? No, you can do anything. And by the same token, you are also in true freedom. You are able to worship whatever else you want. Did God just go, oh, they're worshiping idols, smite? No, he didn't. He let them.
Yeah.
But he just wanted his people that were called out. So it was interesting to have them go, huh.
Yeah, it's really interesting because like even in the Old Testament, after the pagans had taken over the second temple, like God had never commanded them to retreat from the temple until they were like physically removed from it. And even though the pagans had taken over the temple for the most part, like the people of Israel didn't abandon the temple until they were forcibly removed, which is an interesting concept because it relates a lot to the Protestant Reformation in a lot of ways, because it wasn't as though Martin Luther was trying to go ahead and leave the Catholic Church. He was trying to reform it from within. And so unlike normal schisms where it's voluntary by its very nature, he was excommunicated.
Yeah, he stayed until the very end, until he was removed.
Right.
By papal dispensation or papal authority.
Right. And so it's interesting to go ahead and see that parallel between the Old Testament and how things were, even though it was corrupted, people of God were still and worshiping, even though couldn't overthrow the evil at the time because of the circumstances that were circumscribing
Yeah.
it. In the Protestant Reformation, there were things that were going on in the Catholic Church that were not above board. And Martin Luther's, hey, this stuff's got to go ahead and change. And the Catholic Church is all, nah, excommunicated, brother.
You out.
Not brother.
You out.
Yeah.
But in the context of a marriage, it's so interesting that it's like the same thing where we talked about, there's all these rules and laws and I don't like it. Yet this is, most of those things is what people naturally live by.
Okay, so what do you mean?
So it's like people are mistaking freedom for liberty.
Okay.
That it's this authoritative, you can't do this, thou shalt not, and thou shalt do this, and thou shalt not do that. Like, it's this constraining thing. If you are putting yourself in submission, that's why it's such a dirty word, under the control of another person. One, it's voluntary. Two, you vetted this person, you've gotten to know them, you got to know their character over a span of time so that you really can count on this person and given them the time and the space to get to know you as a person. And you both choose each other. You both say those vows and you both say, we're gonna live in the right order to things, especially if you claim Christ.
Yeah, it's interesting because the default like marriage vows for the woman used to
obey.
include love, honor, and obey. Does not include that by default anymore, which is interesting. It just goes to show the egalitarian
Yeah.
tentacles just like digging into the modern church.
It was really interesting that they were going to remove those for Queen Elizabeth II. They're going to remove obey because she was sovereign.
Right.
But she insisted that they include it because she knew that this was in her marriage. And she really did seek to separate the two so that she could be married, but also fulfill her duty,
Right.
which is nice. But so it's like you choose this person and you take these vows and you do this thing, but then you're going to say, this person is controlling me. This person is trying to box me in. When really, you probably would have pretty much fallen into the left and right boundaries naturally if you had sought to just let this other person, let your husband lead. If you just let him call the shots and whatever in tandem with receiving your counsel and him making the ultimate decisions that's for the benefit of everyone. If you think about it, like your role is much weightier. Yeah, it is. Because honestly, we talked about this when we talked about like many last, that kind of thing. I just talked about this with our daughters, both of our older children, actually. I think both of our daughters were there. But I said, finding a good man is one who will see if there's not enough for everyone, he will take from his plate to make sure everybody's taken care of. But a good wife is the one who, when she makes the plates, she will give herself a little less naturally to make sure that everybody else is taken care of before he even sees them. And it's so funny because there's this whole like internet scuffle about, I make my children's plates first before my husband, he can get his own, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, I make my husband's plate first. Because the children need to know who gets the deference in our home.
Right.
But they never need to fear that because they know that they're always going to have enough.
Yeah, they're well provided for. There's no fear of lack.
Yeah, he would take off of his plate to put on the kids' plates normally. But I'll make sure that everybody has what they need if it's less for me. And that's fine. And that is the partnership. That is the beautiful partnership that is a solid marriage that your children can be proud of. Your children can look and admire that, your children will rise up and call you blessed. It's awesome. It's an awesome thing to look forward to. So working within this framework, I actually get a ton of agency. I get to decorate the house. You don't really care.
I don't really care.
As long as you're not like bumping into a priceless vase, like on the way to the bathroom at night, stuff like that. But a wise woman will make sure that the way is cleared and that you're not going to stumble or whatever, even if in the dark.
Yeah, and I'll provide you like preferences. I'll be like, look, you have free reign over all this, but don't mess with this.
Yeah.
And it's on you to go ahead and respect that boundary.
And that is just one small example of this, right? There are so many areas in which I practice my agency. I exercise my own agency. And there are some things that make sure that, is this okay? Okay, that's fine. Or I don't care. Cool. That's fine too.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But it's really good that like when the big things come, I'm in a bubble. I'm in a little bubble that's insulated from a lot of the big stuff that's causes anxiety and all of that stuff. I don't have to worry about, is the card going to decline?
No, you don't have to worry about that.
Are the lights going to still be on? I don't have to. I don't even think about it a lot of the time, especially I just look at the grocery cart and know my budget like range. Okay, this is good. And what comes in, it doesn't much matter, except this is not really what we should be eating for dinner. You know, like there's some small input, or there's, hey, we're preparing for a thing, or I'm going to be really busy. I need a couple of pre-made things. Okay, whatever. It's within the range. Cool. I get to exercise a lot of freedom and a lot of agency, and I don't have to worry about the big things. I can rest in that feminine nature where I can just be a little chaos goblin within my little box.
Yeah.
And it's not confining because I'm still a person. I still have thoughts. We still talk about a lot of big stuff. And I'm still here to say, hey, you seem to be struggling. Can I help you? Mm-hmm. And it's okay to be that way. And I can worry about my little stuff. And I am so happy. If I had to do all of the stuff that modern women do because they want to do it and they don't want to give up their whatever personhood, I really think that if you pick the right person, you have the structure, and if you don't do those things, and if you pick the right person and you're making them miserable too, you will never be as happy as you could be. Mm-hmm. And that makes me sad for a lot of women, honestly.
And I think that it's in women's nature to desire to submit, even though in Genesis, part of the curse talks about how Eve will constantly contend with Adam, though her desire will be for him. Mm-hmm. Right? It is a conflicting set of circumstances where she is going to be at war with submission, though submission is her natural and good state of being in accordance with divine order.
The thing is, most women, like modern women, do not even get to that point where they contend with it. They get to the struggle part. They just reject it outright. They just walk away. I'm not even going to do that. And then you will never know. You will never get to that part because we've talked about this a bunch of times. Anything that's worth doing
takes work.
Is difficult. It's hard. I didn't get to this point all at once. Honestly, the first 15-ish years of our marriage I was really contending with it.
There's a work in progress for a while, right?
Yeah. And it took time. It took a lot of practice, but it took a lot of want to.
Sure. And I would say that the first 5 years were a lot harder
definitely
than the next 10 years, right? Because we were just dialing things in and we were, learning how to be parents. And then, how do we go ahead and balance us time with parents' time and all this other stuff?
Yeah. And then along comes all the health stuff.
Yeah.
And then
figuring that out.
Yeah, to figure out what my bandwidth is. Mm-hmm. And so it's been a lot to struggle with, to take into it. It was almost like as soon as we cleared one level, here's the next one.
Sure.
But life is always in flux. There's always something new, a new season, a new dynamic. So it's always something. What does not change is who you are and your responsibilities, who I am and my roles and responsibilities, and our dedication to who we want to be, where we're going, what we're doing.
Right.
That is a common purpose, no matter what. So that no matter what, my little box in my little bubble And I'm here like going, we good? You need help? Whatever. If the bottom falls out, which it has several times, no matter what, we're good.
Yeah.
That is the biggest thing that I can count on, and it should be, because this is the one relationship for the rest of my life that won't change.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even when like the bottom falls out, most of the time it's a false bottom to a treasure chest, right? Is like I set like safety parameters up and I defend the safety parameter so that if we go ahead and hit that, in reality, we're still good, but I'm going to go act as if it's not for the sake of protecting the family, because I know that there is thresholds for when things are actually dangerous. And by providing that false bottom to this treasure chest, it provides you additional layers of security.
Which is super comforting. I could just hear the comments like, oh, he's lying to you about everything. You don't know everything. Shut up. It's like the extra, like in a cage, like in a bird cage, like the extra like little layer where the tray pulls out.
Sure.
Where all the stuff comes out and you have to clean it out. It's like that, where it's like you hit that bottom, but you don't hit the shit.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, it's just like the purpose of an emergency fund. And a lot of times people just go ahead and dip into their emergency fund willy-nilly rather than treating it like for actual emergencies.
Yeah,
And
I've
like
seen
there's a
that.
huge difference.
I've seen that thing. Actually, I just saw something with the homeschool family where it's, I've been keeping this for a certain purpose. I've been keeping this separate fund and stuff, and we're going to do this and blah, blah, blah. And something happened where I needed to use it for a little bit and it was gone. Turns out her husband used it for something else that happened that she didn't know about. And now they didn't have that. Can you imagine?
When
As
they're
a woman, I can't imagine being like, this is my little nest egg. This is my safety spice. And it's not there because he yanked it out of there because she was the one holding it back.
Yeah.
This is a partnership. Who's in charge then?
Oh, gosh. So that sounds like a partnership, and why partnerships
It's
don't work.
messy.
This is why marriage is ordered, right? And so you figure out your roles and responsibilities for your marriage, but then keep them clear, right? Because they had that lack of clarity in that process, that invited that problem to happen.
Which is funny because they'll say, oh, he's lying to you when the false bottom thing that you explained. But think about it this way. If a woman says, oh, we're in a partnership, oh, we're a team and all of that stuff, and she keeps that exit fund money.
Oh, yeah, they get all
same
the
thing.
excuses.
She's lying.
Well, and that's like openly deceitful for deceitful purposes rather than
It's
for the
messy.
purpose of establishing familial security. And those are very different things because there's the motive behind it
Yes.
that causes something to be good or bad,
You don't trust him.
right? So I think we hit this one pretty good. Let's go ahead and move on to the last law for today. And it's Law 32, play to people's fantasies. So the idea is that people don't necessarily respond to logic and reason. A lot of times they respond to emotion and they make decisions based on how they feel, not necessarily based on what makes sense.
Is this the entire advertising industry?
This is the advertising industry. Yeah, it feels before reels is reality for some people.
I just watched the worst commercial I've ever seen, ever.
Okay, what do you got?
The one I showed you.
Can you just tell
Well,
me
I
the
was
thing?
watching Bridgerton.
Okay.
And it was this Bridgerton-esque like little scene, but all of these women were of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah, but they were a majority one shape and size.
Yeah, the thing is that was a large bend toward that. And like a lot of different
Compositions.
fashion statements that were being made. It was wild, yo.
So what was the point of the commercial?
It was that body pause, everybody matters. Be yourself. And the tagline was let them talk.
Oh, okay.
So
What were
if
they
anybody's
advertising?
gonna say, and it's, do you boo? It was a Dove commercial.
Oh, okay. Fair
Dove
enough.
X Bridgerton. Yeah. Because
Is it a
we
whole
know-
line of products?
We know the demographics of people who are watching that show. It speaks right to them.
Okay, fair enough. Speaking of advertising, right? There's a lot of things that we do in advertising where we don't talk about like specifications and benefits and things like that. Most ads are woven into the form of a story or some kind of narrative where either there's hope or there's an adventure or something like that, so that you see yourself in the commercial, so that you align yourself with whatever the product is that they're trying to advertise to you. And it's weird because in a lot of ways, they're making a false promise and they're trying to go ahead and get you to buy into this thing. Literally, you're buying.
Literally. If
buying
you
the
buy
thing.
this thing, you will be this person.
Yeah, but I think it's interesting because in real life, giving somebody a false hope leads them to behave in ways that they wouldn't if that hope wasn't imparted to them in the first place. And both the idea of following a false hope that yields nothing in the long term and being in a position where you have no vision in the first place, those are both bad for very different reasons. Like in this, we already talked about the false hope and how, hey, when you go ahead and get to the end of that, is that going to be something that's actually satisfactory or not? If you're going around in a world without vision, that's like being in a labyrinth and you can't see, you're blind, and you're just feeling your way around it. And you have no idea if you're going to fall into a pit trap or find a minotaur or get stabbed by a spike trap that's coming by you. You just can't see anything. And so when you are leading others, a lot of times it's not just about the what. More often than not, you want to go and express the why. Why is it that this matters? And weave a good story to tell them why it is the way that it is so that they can easily buy into it. Mm-hmm. Once again, we're talking about buying into things, right? And so when you apply this to the life of an individual man, a lot of times guys need to have a personal narrative that extends beyond the self, right? This is like having a transcendent cause or something that exists that you serve as a man that exists beyond yourself so that you can stretch yourself beyond your normal capabilities and your normal wants and desires. And if you lack this vision, you become much more easily controllable. But if you have a vision for yourself and you have a code of conduct and you have convictions, it is much more difficult to manipulate you because you have a true North Star that you can look at and you are more likely to be a force to be reckoned with. And I think that in a lot of ways, those kinds of men that have fundamental purposes and convictions are much more attractive to women because they actually stand for something, as opposed to these Nancy boys out here that just flounce about with the winds of change.
These men of vision and purpose, they're like a commercial. They are putting forth a narrative of a lifestyle that tells women, do you want to be a part of that?
Right. It's like you're being the captain and advertising your voyage.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I want to go there. I want to do that.
I like that.
I want to do that.
I like that guy. I want to go ahead and do that guy.
I want to do that guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting that this applies a lot to obviously professional situations.
Sure.
Where I've seen it in real life. I've seen you talk to, like, when you start doing new things, like, you know, the place at the base and like all of these other different, like, even when we were doing online and stuff, like for the first time, how we navigated the pandemic. You didn't tell people what we were doing. You told people why we were doing.
Right.
And there's always been a purpose from the get-go of what the business stands to accomplish.
Sure. And we also had it where the why informed the what and the how. Mm-hmm. Like our fundamental purpose is the thing that like guided us into coming up with our processes and procedures and how we presented ourselves to the world. All of these things matter and they come from our true North Star.
I've seen it like from the macro things like new avenues of commerce and all of that stuff to let's tweak this procedure, especially ones that this seems completely not, it's like this is completely ass backwards. Why are we doing this? And you furnish that already before they could even ask it. And that was the biggest, they were like, oh, okay. And so they were already more receptive to listening rather than still stewing in a reaction.
Sure.
And it also applies to parenting. If they understand as parents what we are seeking to do, and that if anything, just making sure that they are safe. Like today I took the kids to the library and we had to actually park across the street, which I hardly ever do because I don't want little kids crossing the street if I don't have
Makes sense.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had to cross the street. And I told them, before I even opened the doors, I said, there's cars everywhere. It is not safe. I need you to keep right there, touch the van until you get somebody's hand. And I made sure they understood that. It helps if it rhymes with little children, I'm just saying. Like with our youngest, glasses. It's either in the case or on your face.
Yep.
Stuff like that. Where if you tell them why, then there's already buy-in. Sometimes there's not time. Sometimes it's an emergent thing and you have to do it because I said so, but there's time to debrief later. They always understand that there is a purpose behind things. And that's buy-in right there.
Okay. So from a woman's perspective, how can you sense when a man believes in his own mission? What are some indications to you?
You can tell by what he talks about, the things he talks about, how he talks about things, especially if he's in a big picture kind of person. You can tell that he's already in that mindset of, I'm going in a direction. Generally, if he's decisive, like the first thing, like the whole waffling, I don't know, what do you want to do? And like, maybe we could, no. When he says, this is what we're doing. I want you to dress like this. This is what the attire is. This is when we're going, and come on. Like those kind of things that you walk with purpose, you talk with purpose, you give directions with purpose, you make decisions with purpose. Obviously, this is a person who's literally walking the dog. This is a person who's man on a mission. You get on board or you get out of the way. And people will say, oh, he's so controlling, he's so conceited, he's so narcissistic. No, he has purpose.
He just knows what he wants.
It's just like the same thing where women want 666.
Yeah.
And that's a preference. That is their thing. And they don't want to settle and they set boundaries. But when a man says, this is what's happening, this is what I'm doing, we're going to do this, or you can go find somebody else that will have what you need.
Oh my gosh, so toxic. Toxic
Exactly.
masculinity. How dare you?
Why the double standard?
Because it suits their purposes. So they can go ahead and shame, insult, guilt, and have that need to be right. It's all sign language.
Like I just saw this, one of those profiles that people repost, that they find those little gems. This chick is like 26 and she's looking for a 60-plus-year-old man whose net worth is 10 million or more.
Right.
And she says, no matter what, if we're together and there's a baby, it's yours. Like on top of that, like on top of the Delulu mess, then there's, if the baby is in my belly, it's yours no matter what, no matter who the daddy is.
That's gross.
No matter what the DNA test says. That's what she said.
Oh gosh. Like
Scary.
no discerning man that has a net worth of 10 million would ever touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Right.
That is just utterly disgusting, because why would he want to go ahead and put his hard work at risk like that?
It's a train wreck that's on fire.
Right, but it's delusion. So why would we go ahead and, expect that it lines up with reality in any way, shape, manner, or form? But I think it's time to get on to landing the plane on this one.
Right on.
So the common themes behind these laws are things like thinking long-term and reducing like emotional leakage associated with the way that you conduct yourself and how you frame things from an emotional standpoint and from a providing structure and direction standpoint. And it's really important for men to structure reality for the people that they're seeking to lead rather than just reacting to reality as it comes, because that doesn't instill confidence in your leadership ability. What takeaways would you have for women to close this out?
We've really established that, especially most women will acknowledge that we have a certain degree of chaos goblinry. And for us, oh, it's cute and whatever. And to a certain degree, it makes life fun. There's like the ones that are just drama magnets and cool, whatever. But in doing so, you need a frame of stability. Why wouldn't you want that in somebody that you are tying your life to? That's really, and why not trust somebody with that who is wired that way? Why wouldn't you want that framework? And it's like a big sandbox, and you can build pretty castles and make little molds of seahorses and stuff. It's really fun. And you get to be happy in doing what you were naturally, like obeying your natural bend. Like, why not lean into it rather than being, I need to hold on to my own control? Go be happy. And if you want to still there doing that, cool. But don't sit there and go, where are all the good men?
Right. Yeah.
Because you control freaked them right out of the picture.
Or they're stuck in your friend zone and you're aging out and they're just leveling up. So make your choice wisely.
You swiped right for whatever reason.
Right. So I've got some questions to go ahead and put these things together. First one is, where do men sabotage themselves by needing immediate validation? That's interesting.
Immediate.
Right.
That's the thing right there.
There you go. The next one is, why does modern culture punish foresight and reward reaction? What's in it for the people in charge for us to be stuck in reaction mode?
Look at social media.
Absolutely.
That's why we have that.
What happens to families when no one plans beyond tomorrow? It's always a matter of feast and famine. And if you're not planning beyond tomorrow, when something bad happens, you don't have the framework to deal with it.
That's why people are child-free by choice and hopping jobs every few years. And most of them don't have a retirement plan that they're building.
Yeah. And they're going to end up with like cat food and crackers and in a 250 square foot apartment. And that's just what their life is going to look like.
The government will take care of me.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Whatever. If Social Security exists at that point.
Because they're doing such a good job now.
They're doing great.
I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
So to finish out, the man who plans, acts calmly, structures wisely, and offers a real vision rarely needs to demand authority. It usually emerges around him. There you go.
He doesn't demand, he commands.
It just shows up because
Boom.
he's doing all the things to make it happen.
It's interesting how when you make this shift to live with purpose, to even any movement or word or anything, how people react to it.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see how that shift happens. But let's go ahead and close out with some YouTube-y stuff. If you liked what you saw here, we've got other videos right here and right here. I hope you have a fantastic day.